The name of Gaius Julius Caesar is forever written in the world history. He was truly a great ruler and commander who won many victories, but there were defeats in his life. Although the people loved Caesar, he made quite controversial decisions at the end of his reign, and in the end he was killed by the conspirators, as they believed, for the good of the Republic. So how did Caesar reach greatness, and why was he assassinated? Let's try to figure this out. If you like our videos, don't forget to subscribe and give us thumbs up. Caesar comes from the ancient patrician family of the Julians. His family was noble, but at the same time quite poor. Caesar's youth was spent under the dictatorship of Sulla. Sulla was a military leader who, after the harsh civil war of 83-82 BC, completely seized power in the country, and he began violent chase of his former opponents. At that time, Caesar almost died. Although part of his family supported Sulla, some of Caesar's relatives opposed the dictator. Sulla encountered long with Gaius for different reasons. For instance, he demanded that Caesar divorce his wife Cornelia, the daughter of one of Sulla's main opponents, Lucius Cornelius Cinna. In the end, Gaius was included in the so-called proscription list, which contained the name of the people whom Sulla intended to execute. Caesar was forced to flee Rome and hid for a long time. Only thanks to the efforts of his family did the dictator change his anger to mercy. This is where the nobility of his family came in handy. But Caesar was in no hurry to return. He went to serve in Anatolia. There he took part in several successful military campaigns and showed himself not only to be a good military leader, but also a talented speaker. Sulla retired in 79 BC and died a year later. Then Caesar was able to return to Rome. His ambitions and desire for power grew day by day. In Rome, he decided to act as an orator and lawyer and brought some of the Sullans to trial. Despite his outstanding oratorical abilities, he failed in court. Then Caesar decided to go to Rhodes, to the school of rhetoric of Apollonius Molon, the mentor of the great Cicero. But the trip failed along the way. Gaius was kidnapped by pirates. According to the legend, Caesar joked with the pirates and got along with them, and increased the requested ransom for him from 20 to 50 talents. However, most likely this is just a fairy tale. Soon after getting released, Caesar mercilessly dealt with the pirates. After this, Caesar began to rise to the summit of power. First, he was elected to the post of military tribune, that is, one of the advisors in the legion. At the same time, Gaius became close to one of the most influential and richest person in Rome, Marcus Licinius Crassus. At the beginning of 69 BC, Cornelia died during her second labor. The child also did not survive, and Caesar had only one daughter left, Julia. The Romans usually named girls after their fathers. Soon Caesar's aunt also passed away. At the funeral, he made a remarkable speech that was unacceptable back then. Speeches about the death of women began to be made only 2 centuries later. This allowed him in the same year to be elected as a quaestor, assistant to the consul on various issues. Usually, the path to the Senate began with this position for noble people. Caesar went to Spain to fulfill his duties, and after returning, he began to make far-reaching plans. He hoped to reduce the influence of Senate, and for this he supported Gnaeus Pompey the Great, an outstanding commander and one of the main people of the Republic. By 66 BC, Caesar was extremely popular. While Pompey was in the east, Caesar ruled Italy in his own interests. That year, Caesar was elected to the post of curule aedile. On some level, you can say he became the mayor of Rome, who was busy with constructions, roads, food, and other similar issues. He organized large-scale games and festivals, attracting more and more people to his side. By this time so far, Caesar dreamed of great victories that would help him strengthen his power and asked to give him soldiers to conquer Egypt, but the senators turned down this venture. In 63 BC, Caesar was elected supreme pontiff, that is the highest priest of Rome. For this, he had to bribe all the electors. Becoming pontiff, Caesar received eternal authority and glory. Now he could further use the support of people to his advantage. Within 2 years, Caesar became propraetor of Further Hispania. He led the cities, tried and reconciled the warring clans, and treated harshly everyone who dared to doubt his power and create the slightest disorder in the province. In 60 BC, Caesar returned to Rome. The senators considered that victories in Spain were worthy of a triumph, a solemn meeting of the commander, who entered Rome on a gilded quadriga to the joyful cries of the crowd. This was the highest award, but Caesar planned to take part in the elections of consul. He had just reached the minimum age. The triumphator was not allowed to enter the borders before the start of celebrations, and in order to have time to apply, Caesar refused the triumph. At the same time, Caesar and two of the most powerful people in Rome, Marcus Licinius Crassus and Cneius Pompey the Great, decided to seize the power. They created the first triumvirate, an agreement of 3 people to take political actions. To improve relations with Pompey, Caesar even married his daughter to him. Caesar became consul and ruled with the support of Crassus and Pompey. In order to repay his benefactors, he pushed through an agrarian law under which veterans of Pompey's army received huge plots of land. As consul, Caesar used the support of people and promoted laws that undermined the authority of senators. So in 20 years, Caesar reached the very heights of power in Rome, but even this was not enough for him. Soon Caesar was appointed proconsul of Cisalpine and Transalpine Gaul, the territory of northern Italy and southern France, and from here, the story of his greatest military triumph, the Gallic Wars, began. Caesar conquered all of Gaul, entered German territory, and for the first time tried to invade the British Isles. But in 52, almost all the Gaul tribes united around the leader, Vercingetorix. Caesar had to pacify the Gauls with fire and sword for another 2 years. Following the campaign, he wrote the famous commentaries on the Gallic War, in which, as often happens, he greatly exaggerated his achievements. Unfortunately, we only have Roman legends about this war, and therefore we can only study it from their point of view. While Caesar was oppressing the Gauls, passions ran high in Rome. In 53 BC, during military campaigns in Parthia, Marcus Licinius Crassus died. Caesar was losing support among the people. His daughter Julia died, and relations between Pompey and Caesar became tense too. There was no one else who could balance their conflict. The senators demanded that Caesar give up his lands and army. They summoned him to trial in Rome. Then he did the unthinkable, crossed the Rubicon River, the border of the province Italia, where it was forbidden to be with the army. Having set the famous the dice cast, Caesar brought 5,000 royal legionaries into Italy, and thus began the civil war. Caesar quickly conquered all of Italy using a policy of mercy. He attracted many people to his side. He treated the losers carefully. He treated the hesitant with understanding. These played a big role in his rise. Pompey was far from being so generous. Gaius captured Italy and Pompey was forced to flee to Greece. The civil war was just beginning. Caesar wanted to follow Pompey, but there were no warships left, so he decided to secure his rear and headed to Spain to destroy the legions loyal to Pompey there. Then he returned to Italy, but the soldiers, tired of fighting, rebelled. Many of them went through entire Gallic wars. However, thanks to Caesar's charisma, the disturbance was suppressed. The soldiers loved Gaius. He led them in many battles himself, addressed the centurions by name, personally congratulated the soldiers on their victory. A person like that couldn't help but be a hero and inspire, but despite the gift of leadership and military superiority, defeating Pompey wasn't easy yet. He had a powerful navy and defeated Caesar's legions in the Balkans, in the Illyricum province. Caesar nevertheless decided to land in Greece by sea, but here he lost the Battle of Dyrrhachium and was forced to flee with a defeated army. Here his story could have ended, but Pompey did not dare to follow him. Fate gave Caesar another chance. After that, he gathered an army again and defeated Pompey, who fled to Alexandria, where the Egyptians killed him to serve Caesar. Here Caesar met Cleopatra, who claimed for the power in Egypt. An affair began between them, and Caesar helped her conquer the country. The death of Pompey did not stop the civil war. His supporters gathered new forces in Africa, and in Anatolia, the Bosporan king Phornaces II decided to profit from trophies while the Roman Republic was on fire. Having defeated Phornaces, Caesar wrote only 3 words in the Senate: I came, I saw, I conquered. Then he defeated the Pompeians in Africa. The survivors fled to last pocket of resistance in Spain. In Rome, Gaius was given the post of dictator for 10 years. Returning to the capital, he staged 4 triumphs in a row. One of them was in horror of victory over the Pompeians, his compatriots, which concerned many republicans. Later, at the Battle of Manda, Caesar finally defeated the Pompeians and ended the civil war. Now he remained the only and absolute ruler of Rome. Returning to the capital, Caesar became dictator for life, launched a propaganda campaign, and promoted a cult of personality. He minted coins with his face, renamed the months of Quintilis in his honor, and constantly wore a purple triumphal robe and laurel wreath, also to hide his baldness. This desire to become king led to conspiracy against Caesar. Its inspirators were Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. On March 15, 44 BC, the great Roman was killed in the Senate. The conspirators pursued a good goal. They wanted to save the Republic from fall and prevent the rise of a new royal power. Unfortunately, their actions ultimately led to the opposite. After Caesar's death, the country was again mired in civil wars, and later Octavian Augustus, Caesar's adopted great-nephew, came to power and became the first Roman emperor. What do you think about Great Caesar? Write in the comments.